people always talk about gaming crunches and then, long hours. Was this a mandatory part of life for gamers? Or?
The way it was done at id Software, just for comparison, is that I would come in at like 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then I'd work until 6 or 7 or 8, and then go home. And then John Carmack would come in at like 3 o'clock, and then he worked till like 3 in the morning.
Holy
and then
shit.
I got in trouble once. They called me in and said, "How come you don't work late like the rest of us? What's wrong with you?" I said, "Dude, I'm here for 5 hours before you roll in."
Yeah.
And he said, "You are?" I said, "Yes." Ask Donna. She's the front desk girl. She's still there. And so he goes, "Oh, okay." But it still wasn't quite the same, because if he didn't see me there, like I did, it didn't exist, is kind of the deal. Yeah, so that's kind of what worked there. They kind of, people worked whatever he had to work, but they had these crazy ideas. So then on at Ensemble Studio, we had organized. We wanted to have people that were family, that had families and had lives. We didn't want a bunch of deformed single guys that were. I mean, we had deformed single guys because that's the nature of the game industry, but we tried to give them a chance to have a life.
Sure.
So what they did there is they said, okay, crunch time is going to be these 2 months, or these. We knew exactly when it was, because really when it's going to be.
Yeah.
You can plan ahead for it.
Right before launch.
Yeah. Don't take vacation then. And they said, here's how it's going to work. Everyone's going to work from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and we're bringing in lunch and dinner. You don't have to stay for the lunch and dinner. You can go out, but you have an hour, but we are bringing it in case you want to. So
cool.
And that's what we did. And so knowing exactly what the crunch wasn't just like, I must work until all hours of the day. It's like 10 to 10. Got it. And there's food in case you need it. And it was good food. They didn't, they actually got decent food. So that was so organized that we almost looked at, the single guys kind of look forward to crunch. Right?
Really?
And the
guys, because they don't have to make food, right?
But it was tolerable, and you weren't burnt out at the end of it. That's the important thing.
Yes, sure.
You didn't feel like, and then of course everyone would take a week or so off afterwards. But that's how it is at every company. Was it also more? Sorry, I interrupt again. Was it also more fun to work in such a small team, because then you would have an opportunity to see so many different aspects of the design, whereas today teams are like 100 people or plus, and you might never see kind of what you're even making in the grand scheme of things. Well, I mean, that's probably true for a lot of people who work on it. By the time that we were the biggest at Ensemble, I think we had 70 people or so. Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know it was that much. But I was always one of the leads, so I kind of saw everything, because but everyone got, actually, you know what? At Ensemble Studios, you got to see everything. And the reason is because we cycled everyone through the playtests. And we had testers whose job was, we had 3 groups of testers. We had the testers who were like our elite squad that were looking for game balance things. I worked directly with those guys. That's part of my job, was to balance the age games. Okay, so I'd work with these, and I wasn't as good a player as them. These guys were had the reflexes of a bat. They were really good. So I'd work with them to do things. We'd discuss it and work it out. And then we had the playtesters who's really all they could do was find bugs. So we'd hire them we have them do something like, we need to have 100,000 fire arrows in the air at once to see if it crashes the game. Or we found a problem with our trade ships disappearing. Play a game until you figure out what it is. So that was like the dark job. And then the other group of playtesters was people playing for fun, and that was the actual team that was doing it. So it was designers, artists, programmers, and we get them together. We had a special hall that was only for that, and we had 16 seats in it. They were all connected together, and so that's my dream as a kid, because I loved playing LAN games with my friends, and if I had a place that had 16 computers, I would be there all day, every day playing LAN. The descendant of Ensemble Studios, Robot Entertainment, still does that. They have the room where you all go in. Really? That's the best way to play Age of Empires. Not even close. Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. So that's how we play. And so it was 16 people, you can have 2 separate 4x4 games. Right. That's awesome. And also, because of the flow of the game, late in the game, the artists don't have much to do. And so they may as well be playtesting. Yeah, I mean, you're paying them anyways, right? So yeah, the programmers are doing lots of things, but often the programmer will say, okay, well, I just checked in my code. What will I do for 6 hours? I'm going to play the game. And the designers are always doing something, but it's never really crunchy for us, So we can always I got to rebalance the Hussars, but I can do that in an hour. So we'd go play. So that meant that that everyone in the company was actually playing the game and they were seeing the whole picture.
That's awesome.
Nobody was kept in the corner unaware of what was happening.
That's super important. Yeah.
It helped that it was a head-to-head game where you had teams, so you had camaraderie with your team, and you're smack talking the other guys. I imagine if you're doing something like King's Quest, it would not be the same.
Sure, you're right.
But for Ensemble Studios, it really worked, and it also further unified us as a company at Ensemble. One of the rules for hiring people at Ensemble, it was really hard to hire people because we were so picky. It was hard to get through the Guardians. But one of the rules was okay, so if we hire this guy and he's riding up the elevator with you to Ensemble Studio, we were on the top floor, and the elevator breaks down and you're stuck there for 6 hours, will it be interesting to talk to him? And that was our rule.
That's a good policy in any company almost, I feel like. That's super important.
I agree. I agree, right? But a lot of companies don't think in terms of that. We had one guy at Ensemble who started out he was a programmer. He started out as a great programmer and a great guy, and over time he gradually got crabbier and crabbier. I'm not sure exactly why. I think part of it was that his programming skills were starting to get outdated, and he wasn't bringing them up.
He wasn't keeping up with it.
He wasn't keeping up with the technology, and always a problem for any programmer. And because he got crabbier, people didn't want to work with him. And then finally, I actually went on vacation, and when I came back, they said, "Oh, we fired the guy." And I said, "You fired him?" And they said, "Yeah." Well, what happened is we asked every single game designer if they would be willing to work with this guy on their next project. And they actually emailed and asked me too, and I said, "Sure, I'll work with them."
You weren't thinking about it.
Well, every designer except no, I was willing to work with them, but they said every designer except you said no. And we can't. I mean, so we just don't want. Why would we? So we don't want to saddle you with him because he's obviously not your preferred guy. So he's out. And I said, okay. That's one of the very few people we let go. And almost no one ever quit because it was like such a dream